Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today we'll be talking about Phil Vischer and his very unbiblical rant, and I would dare call it a defense of transgenderism and homosexuality. I would dare call it that. So we're going to look at this tweet thread that he gave that went pretty viral, at least within the evangelical community and subculture. So let's just take a look and dive right in. We've got to get rid of this us versus them mentality that pervades so much of evangelicalism. How can we love them if we're so focused on how them is against us? I've been listening to stories of people who have left the church or left their faith entirely, and so often it comes down to a point where they just wanted to be loved, but we couldn't love them because they asked the wrong question, or doubted the wrong tenet of our faith, or reconsidered their own gender or sexual identity, and for us, it was a bridge too far. This is a child of God, was no longer us. Or this child of God was no longer us. They were now them. And because they were them, we now denied they were ever truly us, because how could us become them? And that idea that one of us could become one of them is so threatening that we cannot love. We can only oppose for fear that others of us could become them if we don't take a stand against themness of the one that was once us. Sorry for the ramble, not saying doctrine doesn't matter, just saying love overall. These stories hurt my heart. Now, there's a lot of bad theology there, and, Phil Vischer, if you don't know who Phil Vischer is, think Veggies Tales, and if you don't know what Veggies Tale is, I don't blame you. I grew up in a Christian home, but I didn't know what Veggies Tales was, so I never watched Veggies Tales, and, now that I have a kid, and now I know Phil Vischer makes Veggies Tales, I won't have my kids watch Veggies Tales either. That's not really cancel culture, because I'm not boycotting something I never partook in. But I digress. So there's a lot of bad theology in Phil Vischer's words. Phil Vischer, he's a complete woke hack. I would not consider him a brother of the faith, because he has adopted a false gospel. And point here is that he ignores the fact that the Bible creates a lot of dichotomy. I mean, Jesus spoke in parables, and several of these parables had a dichotomy, whether it be sheep and goats, wheat and shaft. We can go on and on and on, but there is a dichotomy in these parables. The idea that there are lost and there are saved. That there are those reconciled to Christ, to God the Father, and those who are condemned, that stand condemned. There are the elect and there are the reprobate. There is a dichotomy between those who are Christians and those who are of the world. This dichotomy exists, and Phil Vischer is acting like it's wrong for us to acknowledge this dichotomy. It's wrong for us to speak out against the outside world and the outside world's influences. And, just to highlight one of his more prevalent tweets, because, he's talking about they asked the wrong question or doubted the wrong tenets of our faith or reconsidered their own gender or sexual identity. And for us, it was a bridge too far. Now, yes, I would agree that that is a bridge too far. If someone is, going to become a transvestite or transgender their own child, they should be receiving church discipline. Matthew 18 is the correct course of action for this type of activity. So, go to them. And if they do not hear reason, then you take it to 2 or 3 others. And if they still do not listen to them, take it to the whole church. And if they don't listen to the whole church, then let them be like the tax collector. And, that's basically, and he's basically going out against that. But here's where we get into some really bad theology. So not only is he speaking out against, church polity, that the church really should not put up with, someone trying to transgender their own kid, just like they shouldn't really be putting up with someone trying to date their own stepmom or whatever. Here we go on to Phil Vischer basically saying this child of God, which is a biblical term that only refers to those who are saved. Only a saved person is a child of God, biblically speaking. Was no longer us. They were now them. And because they were them, we now deny they were ever truly us. Now, this is where we get into the doctrine of perseverance of the saints, or the Arminian notion of that you can fall from grace. Both of these doctrines, whether you hold the Reformed Calvinistic position of perseverance of the saints or the traditional or Arminian position that you can lose your salvation, have the same conclusion on this type of person that Phil Vischer is talking about, that they were never, or they are no longer us. They are no longer saved. The Arminian would say that the Arminian would say that they have lost their salvation. They have forfeited their salvation. The Calvinists would say that they were never saved. They were never among us. So we got to keep in mind that Christianity is actually very unified, that this person who Phil Vischer is talking about is not a Christian. And he is treating them as if they were. He is wrong. This is bad theology. We are to be influencing the world, not being influenced by the world, especially when it comes to doctrine or sin or new fads like transgenderism, as Phil Vischer is talking about. The idea that, this is not a bridge too far, that you can be a Christian and still practice these types of things. No, this is grounds for church discipline. But, Phil Vischer is not about that. He's not about authentic Christian living. And I'm just going to be blunt about that because, this is someone who is compromised to the social justice gospel. This isn't new. He has promoted woke church and Eric Mason and stuff like that. There's no shortage of evidence that Phil Vischer is woke. There's no shortage of evidence that he is a compromised teacher. And it just shows. Now he's coming out against church discipline. Now he's denying Christian orthodoxy, whether you hold a Calvinist soteriological view or an Arminian/traditional view. He's denying both of those positions, instead favoring the whole eternal security, once saved, always saved notion, which is not biblical. So, that's I guess that's all I got to say about that. I'm no fan of Phil Vischer, and he's just he's tweeting out of his butt, just to be blunt about that. So let me know what you think about what I think. My name is Ray. This is the Evangelical Dark Web. If you like this kind of content, do subscribe for more uncompromised Christian commentary, and also subscribe to evangelicaldarkweb.org, linked in the description below, and I will catch you on the next one.